Very good afternoon and welcome to the United Stands for a breaking news update. I'll tell you what, it's all going on at the moment. Ten Hag's leaving. We've got players back for the FA Cup final. Kieran McKenna could be in talks with Man United, with Pochettino, Ten Hag, De Zerbi, Potter, Southgate. I tell you what, all these talks Man United are apparently having at Carrington, they'll need a bloody new car park. Bloody hell. Anyway, let's get into it. I had so many people messaging me about this one. We don't normally go live at this time, but we are into silly season. Make sure you subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. So, Di Marzio has come out, and basically, this is the quote. At the end of the season, Manchester United will say goodbye to Erik Ten Hag. It is certain they will be saying goodbye to him. Well, we'll be saying goodbye to Di Marzio if this doesn't come through, because you cannot put a quote out like that and not be correct. I have a few questions about this, which I will come back to in a moment, but there's more to it than this. He then goes on to say that Kieran McKenna is Brighton's #1 target, but he has already spoken to Manchester United. If he goes to Chelsea, United will go for Pochettino. And then you've got Man United targets are McKenna and Pochettino. De Zerbi's also on the list, but he's not been in contact with United in recent days. And then we've got an update from the BBC as well. We've got players back for the FA Cup final, including Mount, Lindelof and Martial. I mean, you know what? I feel like we have been linked to more managers than bloody Chelsea. And that's a joke, by the way. But it's just like, if we don't get McKenna, we're going for De Zerbi or Pochettino, or maybe we'll go for Tuchel. Has INEOS not figured out that this is a massive reason to stick with Erik Ten Hag? Because we are going from, in a bad manager market, we're that desperate that if we don't get this one, we'll go for this one, and if we don't get that one, we'll go for that one. It's just, I find it really, really weird. I think football's changing. I think football's changing massively. I don't necessarily like the change that I'm seeing. I don't know whether it's the increase in American owners in football, but it feels very much like an NFL model where managers aren't managers anymore. They're just expendable coaches that can just be changed. And, you know, you can get a manager that's managed 3 or 4 other Premier League clubs, and it's like, oh, yeah. I mean, for me, football is based on projects. When you look at what Klopp has built at Liverpool, when you look at what Arteta is building at Arsenal, when you look at what Sir Alex built at Manchester United, this wasn't based on, you've had a bad year, get out. It was based on, you know, working through and climbing the barriers and having the setbacks and building something. And I just think the modern football owner, I just don't know, it feels very franchisey, very expendable. But look, let's just go back to the major headline here. It's coming in from Di Marzio. At the end of the season, Man United will say goodbye to Ten Hag. It is certain they will be saying goodbye to him. Well, if Di Marzio is breaking this story, I'm stunned. I'm absolutely stunned that Di Marzio would know that Ten Hag is definitely going, that we've already had talks with McKenna, that we would go for Pochettino if we don't get McKenna, and then we might talk to De Zerbi as well. I mean, how is Di Marzio getting that unless he's tunnelled in under the fence into the boardroom of Man United? I do not believe this story, and I do not believe that Di Marzio breaks it. I just don't. I think it's guesswork. I have been told by very good sources that it's amazing that Di Marzio knows this story when Man United and INEOS and Sir Jim Radcliffe haven't even made their mind up yet. So that's what I've been told. What we might have is one of the best bits of journalism we've seen in years, or one of the best pieces of guesswork we've seen in years, or one of the worst pieces of guesswork we've seen in years. And I don't know where it falls, but it certainly doesn't help us ahead of an FA Cup final, but you can't dictate the stories in the media. I don't think this makes a blind bit of sense at all for Manchester United. I really, really don't. I just don't. I don't think it makes sense. But it doesn't mean it won't happen. I don't think it makes sense what Chelsea did with Pochettino. I think it's a terrible decision. So Man United might make a bad decision. INEOS might not be the promised land. They might be the, what role have the Glazers got in? I don't know. But I would never, ever in a million years expect Di Marzio to be breaking Man United's managerial change ahead of David Ornstein, Fabrizio Romano, or 4 or 5 other people. It doesn't make sense as to why Di Marzio would break this. I suspect that my guesswork would be Italian journalist who gets very good. Everything Di Marzio's ever broken about Man United has been based on Italian transfers or Italian agents. So therefore, my guesswork in trying to work this story out would be, who is he close to that wants the Man United job or would know something about the Man United job? And I think maybe De Zerbi. Maybe De Zerbi's looking for the Man United job. We've seen Tuchel stories from Germany about he wants the job. I mean, look, to be honest, over the last 2 months, we've had Gareth Southgate in concrete talks. We've had Thomas Tuchel in concrete talks. We've had Nagelsmann in talks. Now we've got De Zerbi in talks. And yet Man United aren't in concrete talks with anybody. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know which way this is going to go. I will not sit here and say, just because I don't want us to sack Ten Hag, that INEOS are clever and they won't do it. They might do it. On the other hand, they might not do it. I don't know. But it's going to be very interesting to see if we get anything more confirmed. Because, as I said, to come out and say that he's definitely going this summer is really quite career-ending for Di Marzio if it is wrong. The only other angle I do have is, remember Ten Hag said about his future, it's a very long answer. What if Ten Hag doesn't want to stay? What if Ten Hag isn't wanting to stay? What if it's not a sacking? What if it's a mutual departure? Because I tell you what, we've seen a lot of those. De Zerbi was a mutual departure. Pochettino was a mutual departure. Maybe we're going to see a mutual departure here where Ten Hag goes and takes another job somewhere else. I mean, he might walk, Ollie, and we've never thought about that. And for me, a mutual departure is technically a sacking unless that manager goes off and gets a better job. But I'm just trying to figure out why Di Marzio would have the exclusive on this, and I honestly don't know. Andy says, I hope this is bullshit. If not, we're completely broken. If from Ornstein or Fabrizio, then sure, but Di Marzio, says Riker. The news will put the skates on Chelsea anyway. If United have held talks with McKenna, surely that news would be all over the place. We haven't had talks with McKenna, Rory. Mark, you won't take Mourinho yet. Are you happy with 8th? Says Daniel. Mark, if true, does it help our FA Cup chances, says Rasmus? No, it doesn't. I'll always be Eric Ten Hag in until the last breath, says Sonic. And Zuteng says, INEOS, Sir Jim loves United. This isn't good enough. I back United, not Ten Hag. We need to have standards, and INEOS is showing that. I'm happy, says Zuteng. You know, it's not confirmed news, mate. It's not confirmed. It's just a story from a journalist. And inside sources are saying, no, this is not true. So, but they might be saying that because they don't want it leaked out. I don't know. A lot of people said you've got to go live, etc. I mean, I'm live at 8 o'clock, but I just wanted to just react to it and sort of get your thoughts on it. Now, look, I as I said, the official line from United is nothing. The official line from sources, and more than one, is that why would Di Marzio know this when Man United haven't even made their mind up yet? And it feels like, again, people close to free managers putting their story out. I mean, look, we're not in a different position here. We've had journalists for the last 2 months saying that Ten Hag's definitely gone, and we've held concrete talks with people. In the March international break, I heard from very good people, and you heard Mark Ogden on ESPN say that Man United are in talks with Southgate. A month later, we're in talks with Tuchel. A month later, we're now in talks with De Zerbi, with McKenna. You know, the story keeps changing. But the only thing that's interesting about this is Di Marzio saying that Ten Hag is definitely leaving. And he's definitely finished if he gets that wrong. Now, it might be great guesswork, but I think there's a lot of people putting forward. You know what happens in life? Imagine you're in a relationship, right? And, you know, you've got a beautiful wife or a beautiful husband, and people hear that your relationship's a bit rocky. And then your beautiful wife or husband's on a night out and you're not there. There's a lot of people going to be buying that beautiful wife or husband a drink and asking them for a dance. Doesn't mean the relationship's going to end. Might be a bit rocky, but that person might say, I don't need a drink, I'm happily married. Or they might go, let's have a drink and see how it goes. I just think this is a lot of journalists that want Ten Hag to go, which we know, and a lot of free managers who quite like our beautiful football club who are saying, do you want to buy a drink? Do you fancy a dance? Just planting the seed of, I'll take that job if you're thinking. And I think that's what's going on. That's what I really do think is going on. Mark, will be hard for you to trust INEOS if they sack Ten Hag, says Jameric. I was thinking about this just before we went live. If INEOS sack Ten Hag, it won't do any favours in my trust of them, personally. But for some of you, it will enhance your trust of them. I'm a grown-up. I understand that. But I would just say this. If Man United sack a Dutch manager after an FA Cup final, what are INEOS doing that's different to the Glazers? Because we've already done this before. If INEOS sack a manager when a project's not completed ahead of players, how is this new compared to what the Glazers have done? They may well sack Ten Hag. There is nothing I can do about it. But if they do, I don't see anything different from past behaviour of pinning everything on a manager and letting other people get away with it. And I don't agree with that. And I've been saying that for months. We should be clearing players out before we get rid of a manager. But I can't control that. Some people just want to sack a manager. How are these managers any better than Ten Hag? Same old mistakes from the club, if not mutual departure. Excited to win the league with manager number 10, says LJ. The Football Rundown says, keep Ten Hag, trust the process. No one coming in will even be as good as Ten Hag. If United sack him, might as well just bring Ollie back. And Ivan says, I hope that I don't see the mutual agreement tweet coming out with Eric Ten Hag going to Bayern. I really think with structure, Ten Hag will succeed. The only thing I'm thinking of is the more and more I think about if Ten Hag is going to go, the more and more I think it will be mutual agreement. I don't think this will be a sacking. I think this will be a mutual departure. That's what my feeling is. I don't think there'll be anything more to it than that. But I don't want to see it happen. I think certain players win. I think we all know that if Ten Hag goes, certain players in that team will win and turn the light on again. I mean, look at the news that's just come out. Lindelof, Mount and Martial are all back in training ahead of the FA Cup final. Now, some of you would say, oh, it's good timing. Some of you would say, surprise, surprise. I just think that Manchester United, we've got a player problem at Manchester United. I don't think we've necessarily got a manager problem exclusively. I think our biggest problem is the playing staff and the structure around it. But there is another bit of story as well I just want to bring into this, because this is from the BBC, which is quite interesting when the BBC are getting involved in potential Manchester United stories. They've said in the Telegraph that Pochettino is likely to be of interest to Manchester United if they sack Ten Hag after the Cup final. Martial, Lindelof and Mount all back in training ahead of the FA Cup final. BBC are saying that Kieran McKenna is likely to reject any new contract Ipswich Town offer him. The manager feels it is the right time to move on. Man United are considering McKenna if they decide to sack Ten Hag, while Brighton and Chelsea are also interested in the Ipswich boss. Look, my feeling on Kieran McKenna is that when he was at Manchester United, as I have said many times before, he was out of his depth, so was Carrick, and Ollie was as well. What we've seen since then, and look, I know for a fact, people can say what they like, but I know for a fact that numerous Manchester United players didn't have faith in Ollie, Carrick and McKenna. They liked them, but they didn't have faith in them at that time, and they didn't trust them towards the end, certainly. It was too soon. Carrick's gone to Middlesbrough and is doing really, really well. McKenna went to Ipswich in League One, got promoted. Championship, got promoted, and has basically gone and done his apprenticeship. And there's no doubt from where he was at Man United to where he is now, he will be a much better person, manager, and he will demand more respect because of what he's done. I still think it's a bad move for McKenna to go to Manchester United or Chelsea. I think that, you can get promoted with Ipswich, but you're not just walking into Chelsea and Man United as a coach. You're walking into an absolute media pylon. You're walking into one of the biggest brands in sport. You are walking into a club both clubs that have got multitudes of problems that you almost need to be a politician. I think it's too soon for McKenna to take the United job or a Chelsea job. If I was him, I'd actually take the Brighton job. I think Brighton's perfect. But I don't think the Man United job's right for him. But having said that, it's very, very clear to me that wrongly, in my opinion, a lot of clubs want to make managers expendable. They want to bring a manager in and get rid of them and then bring somebody else in. We aren't seeing managers anymore. We're not seeing Klopps and Peps and Artetas and Sir Alex Ferguson's. We're seeing coaches. We're seeing boards that build the way the club is run around them, and then they have an expendable coach who does as they're told, and if results go badly, you're out. I don't think that's going to be conducive with success. Pep Guardiola works with a team, but he's not just a head coach. He's a massive part of what goes on. Jurgen Klopp was the same. Arteta is the same. But Chelsea seem to be obsessed with having this hierarchy that decides who gets sold, who gets bought, and is one of the big reasons that Pochettino's left. Maybe Man United want to go down this route, but the problem that INEOS have not foreseen is that at Manchester United, we massively consume what a rep manager says before a game, after a game, in a press conference. And if you're going to put a puppet as a head coach who's got not a lot to say other than I focus on training the team, Man United fans want a Sir Alex. We want a Klopp. We want somebody that gets it as a vocal mouthpiece of the fans. We want to feel in tune with our manager. We don't want a puppet head coach who just bows down to whatever the people at the top are saying. It works in Germany. It's worked at Brighton. I don't know what the obsession is with this head coach thing at the moment. But maybe that's what Man United are heading down towards. Maybe that's why they'll swerve away from the likes of Ten Hag and Pochettino and Tuchel and go for somebody that's, malleable and they can manipulate. I don't know. But I don't think it's the right time for McKenna, but I think it's too soon. And I think it's a total reset as well. The thing that scares me about a new manager is it's the same as Chelsea. If you're a Chelsea fan now, any momentum that you had from Pochettino, knock it down. You're back at ground zero again, building again. Patience, give this manager time. There will be some bumps in the road. And if we do that, then we're going to have to go patience again. Some of those players you thought were going to get sold, actually we're going to keep. And it's back to ground zero again. And I think that's a massive, massive shame. But maybe that's what INEOS think needs to happen. Maybe they want to go, this is our club. We bought 25% and we're starting from ground zero and we're going to build it the way we built it. Be very interesting. Very interesting. MD says we haven't got any momentum with Ten Hag. So Kobe Mainu, Garnacho, Rasmus, Delo, the younger players that are ready to start coming into the team. Martinez when he's back fit. That's not momentum, is it? I'm blind to the fact that those players will all be better next season and we can add to that and build on that. I must be blind to that then. Yeah. What are your thoughts on the Nice exodus currently happening? Do you think Sir Jim Ratcliffe will sell? And what do you think it means for Man United, if anything, says Bryce? I don't really talk about Nice because it's in France and I've got nothing against French things, but I don't think the Nice project under INEOS is a very good thing to talk about. And in fact, well, some people would say it is fair to talk about it. But if we're going to look at Nice it doesn't bode well. If you look at Nice, it doesn't actually there's nothing from that really that you can say, oh, look at what they've done at Nice. I don't think it's particularly worked. I wouldn't sack the manager, and we all should remember Erik ten Hag was not hired by INEOS. He wasn't their man. They may decide to start their plan. I agree, Corey. Hi, Mark. Why Luke Shaw not in full squad for the FA Cup final? Because he's not fit. Cheat. Erik ten Hag should stay, says YG. LJ says just some people just want to sack a manager. How are these managers any better than Ten Hag? Same old mistakes. I've done that one as well. Mark, do you think the Di Marzio story is true? Says Rom. I do not know whether it is true because I haven't had it officially confirmed by any other journalist that really probably should be confirming whether it's true or not. But what I would say is that when it comes to Di Marzio, and I've been doing this for years, and many of you have been watching for years, if Fabrizio Romano comes out or David Ornstein comes out and says that Ten Hag is definitely leaving, he's definitely leaving. If Di Marzio comes out and says that Ten Hag is definitely leaving, I go, how is he breaking that? So it's how you react to a certain journalist. If it's Di Marzio and Romano, I'm like, bang, that's definitely happening. If it's Di Marzio, I go, okay, I remember him breaking the Pogba story and the Zlatan story and the Mkhitaryan story, but that's because he had close connections to Mino Raiola. I remember last summer he did quite well around Amrabat and Rasmus, but again, that's Italian-based. So I don't remember anything Man United related that Di Marzio's ever done that's not Italian based. There might be one or two things. So I go Italian based, Manchester United, De Zerbi. And I think maybe it's something to do with putting your manager in the shop window. But what I do find odd is the fact that he's been happy to be quoted as saying he's definitely going. And the only thing I can think about that is it's guesswork, or has Ten Hag decided he's had enough? Because we haven't spoken about that for a while, but what if Erik Ten Hag has decided that the model that INEOS are trying to build and the authority look, Erik Ten Hag signed a contract with Manchester United, and the job with INEOS is a much different job in relation to the power he's got, the vetoes, etc. So maybe Ten Hag, look, I'm being speculative here. Maybe Erik Ten Hag has been told by Bayern Munich or Barcelona, we want you. And if you don't stay at Man United, we want you. And maybe Ten Hag has gone, well, Bayern Munich's a piece of piss. They haven't won the league. I can win the league. I think I can do well in the Champions League. I quite fancy Bayern Munich. I don't look. We all assume that INEOS and the Glazers are the be all and end all, and Man United is the tip of the rainbow. But what if Erik Ten Hag has said, look, I don't really like the way that you've left me hanging out to dry for the last few weeks of the season. I don't really agree with the way you're going to run the football club and the power that you're taking away from me. And unless you're going to make a real effort to keep me, then I think it's time we part ways. It's all going to come out in the wash, but I think it'd be a big shame. I personally do think that there is a momentum with Ten Hag. I think the work that's being done around the youth setup is brilliant. I think the development of Garnacho and Mainu this season has been brilliant. And I think that in a very challenging season, we will be much better next season. And I think that we will see opportunities slip that Ten Hag is directly attributable to. I think Frimpong, there's not really much point in signing Frimpong if Ten Hag goes, because it's a Ten Hag target. Same with Todibo. So every time I try and think I've found a solution, I lean back towards another one. Every time I think they might get rid of him, I talk myself back into why they'll keep him. And then every time I talk myself into why they'll keep him, I see stuff like this and think they might get rid of him. I don't know. Last I heard from Fabrizio, he didn't know. Last I heard from David Ornstein, he wasn't sure. And everybody who I know close to the club say no decision been made. So I just don't know what's going to happen is the bottom line. But if he gets the buying job, we may be able to sell Anthony, says Rory. Ivan says, speaking of Chelsea, what do you think of the owner selling hotel properties to his other company to make them look better in the books? Well, I think Chelsea need to be a bit careful if that's happening. And thank you very much for that as well. So there we go. That's your very quick 5 o'clock update from me on the United Stand. We've had 14,500 people tuning in, which is absolutely incredible. Don't forget, we're live at 10 o'clock, we're live at 2 o'clock, and we're live at 8 o'clock every day. But we are now into silly season, so you might get 11 o'clock at night, you might get 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you might even get a 7 o'clock at night. Make sure you subscribe, bottom right-hand corner for all the breaking news on the United Stand. As I said, this story's come out. What's coming out from sources close to the club is that why would Di Marzio know this? Why would he know this ahead of other people when a decision's not been made? And what would his motivation be? Is it on behalf of managers? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. We're back at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock tonight, we're live. Also got a bit of news, actually. I'm just trying to bottom out around a couple of players as well. So 8 o'clock tonight. Take care. What about Poch for the England job? Well, it's not the England stand, but I wouldn't mind Pochettino as England manager, to be honest with you. I think it's a big improvement on Southgate. Take care, everyone. I'll see you at 8 o'clock, and thank you very much for watching.